Welcome to a very special episode of Managed Chaos Podcast, where we are sitting down with the founder of the Little Words Project, Adriana Carrig. I am so excited to dive into all the chaos that she's experienced over the last year of growth and also how she's managing it. I am so excited to finally sit down and have this conversation after our meetup at South by Southwest, where I think I bought about 4 bracelets. I don't know. My stack is definitely ever growing. We even did Managed Chaos custom bracelets.
Yes.
So super excited to kind of
good.
sit down and talk about chaos and how you manage chaos, both in your personal life and in the brand. This brand, Little Words Project, has had such a big year. And I'm sure you say that every year, but this year, just even being an observer from the outside, has been such a big year for you.
Yeah.
So what would you say has been the most chaotic thing? If you could pin something down, I don't know, maybe
What a loaded question. What a loaded question. Yeah, no, well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat all things chaos, and the brand itself has seen some major growth since we first started back in 2013. And this year, I mean, we're going on, this will be 12 years in November, which is crazy when I say that out loud. And it was certainly one of the more chaotic years of my career in that there was just a lot of change. There's a lot of transitioning. We moved out of an old warehouse into a new one. We changed factories. We went through a lot of personnel changes, both hiring and firing, which is never fun. And then, personally, my husband and I run this business together, and we also manage the chaos of our home, which has a 2 and a 4-year-old living in it, 2 little boys that we are raising at the same time. We also, unfortunately, lost my husband's father this summer, who was my father too for the last 17 years. And it's been a tough year. The business has been doing very well in the sense that we're out there, our brand has become very nationally known just through the last few years of opening our resale stores. The brick and mortar stores really did help put us on the map. But, we maybe ran before we could walk a little bit there. And so we've had to really figure out how to stabilize things and manage the chaos. Like, that's really truly the best way of saying what we handled this year. But we're very excited for 2026 and kind of continuing that stabilization as we bridge from, the business we are to the business we're going to be. And I think that's just the journey of scaling a small business to a mid-sized business to a big business, while not being excessively funded, right? We don't have all the money in the world to be doing this with. So it's been a very kind of lean and mean process. And yeah, it's been quite the journey this year for sure. So I don't even know that I can give you the most chaotic part of it. I think the whole thing has been chaotic. I am looking forward to 2026, honestly.
I think so. It's been a very conscious choice of yours not to do a lot of outside funding, right? To really, keep this insulate is maybe not the right word, but to keep it so that you still own the creative direction and you still own the decision making. Has that made it harder in some ways?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in some ways it's easier because yes, like you said, I'm very much so I'm in charge of the creative direction of this brand, of what we do, of what we create, of how it comes to life, of how we message it. There's no higher power that I have to speak to besides my husband, who I recently named the CEO of the brand right before tariffs hit. He was like, thanks for that job. But, I do enjoy not feeling beholden to somebody else or to another, parent company or anything like that.
Yes.
That said, it is very hard to build something at scale and to the scale that we are already without outside funding to kind of keep the lights on, right? The lights are kept on because of our own intentional changes. And it's led to a lot of, chiseling is what I call it. Like, it's like this sculpture in my mind that we just keep having to chisel at. And we don't just get to like go have it mass produced somewhere and, have some expert make it. No, we're chiseling ourselves with our 2 hands to create something here. And it's good and not so good sometimes too.
It does definitely allow your marketing team to really get that millennial heart. Like, all of the videos, everything is just so on point.
for those of us millennials, it's like perfectly marketed. So kudos to your
Oh,
team for
that
sure.
makes me happy. Yeah, we find that our sweet spot is that demo just because they kind of grew up with me, right? Like I started this at 23. I'm now 35 years old and I'm definitely, in that millennial demo, but we are also seeing a lot of attraction from the Gen Z audience and that younger demo and even, even younger than that because now, the women who grew up with me are now moms and they're bringing their daughters and sons along on the journey. So we really do see a large breadth of the age demographics when it relates to this brand. It's not ever just pinpointed in one direction, but we do tend to talk to our audiences, depending on what platform we're on. Like you'll see different content just to ensure that we're making sure everyone feels like they belong.
Yeah, even my boomer mom, she went to Hawaii and she sent me pictures of the bracelets at
Aw.
a boutique in Hawaii. She's like, they're here. They're even here.
Oh yeah, that's so fun. It's so cool when I still get those text messages from friends of mine who are randomly on some island somewhere and they see them in a gift shop or whatever it might be. And I'm like, you know what? It's so fun because it reminds you that at the base level, this product is shoppable everywhere. And that is such a cool thing. I only hope to become even more international and have them available. And international shipping is going to get better. Like there's a lot of stuff we're working on to continue to spread this mission.
So when it comes to the warehouse move, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
there were a lot of people that you leaned on during that. Would you say that your support system is really what helps you get through the chaos and helps you manage it?
Oh, absolutely. Specifically at home, I'm really blessed and lucky and also, worked it's extremely hard to be at a place where I can afford to be a mom and be functioning at this high level. And I think that something that you don't really hear enough about from working mothers is how hard it is to do both and to try. And the constant sense of guilt and all of that just really is overwhelming. But it's not just like I'm guilty when I'm at home and I'm guilty when I'm at work. There's really no in between, especially when you're running your own thing, right? Because this is my first baby at the end of the day and I want her to win. So if it weren't for my mom who supports me in helping cook meals at my home, and she's watched there with my kids throughout the days, our nanny, Nicole, who started off as my executive assistant. Okay. And then I gave birth out of nowhere to my second baby at 29 weeks. We were in the NICU for 10 weeks. And during that time, she was like, I kind of want to, I want to be home with Ford. I want my older. I want to stay with the kids when we got out of it. And she just kind of gave herself the role of nanny, which I never thought I would have, but here we are. And if it weren't for her, I wouldn't feel comfortable or confident enough to go travel to my stores as I need to, or be at the warehouse till late at night because I wouldn't feel like my kids had what they needed. And I think, if it weren't for the home front being figured out, it would be a lot harder. It probably wouldn't be doable, to be honest with you, at least through this past year of severe chaos. And then of course my work team, my team here, we've had some really hard weeks. We had a small round of layoffs last week. That was the second one we did this year, to be able to stay lean and be extremely efficient with the dollars out and ensure that we're setting ourselves up for a future success and ensuring the longevity of the brand. Again, none of it would be possible without the team, which makes those decisions and those periods of time all the more difficult, right? So, but they all remain so, whether they're here now or they were with us in the past, I like to believe, and I've seen, that most of them really do just cheer us on and want to see this thing go the distance and know that their help in the time that they were with us was super important to the longevity of the brand. And that's what we're all doing this for, right? None of us are here because of me necessarily, they're here, some might say, but they really are here for what we're doing and for the impact that it drives for so many. So yeah, it really does take a village, no matter if you're building a business, you're raising a family, any of the above. I mean, it really is, you're working just a 9 to 5, like it takes people to make it happen and to make you feel like it's possible.
It really does, which is one of the things that I love about the bracelets and the tracking, right? So the sense of creating the community and being able to pass the bracelets on to someone when you need it. So my very first bracelet came from a friend who had gone through rough fertility treatments, and at the time I was going through them, and she gifted me a bracelet that she had had throughout her
Oh,
treatment. And that was my very first introduction to Little Words Project. And it was so meaningful because it meant so much to her. So it wasn't a
yes.
brand new bracelet. It was something that she had cherished, that she had looked at. And so the sense of community that you're building as well. So it's not just the product, but it's a sense of the community, and also
Yeah.
the sense of being nice, like just being nice. It feels like the world has lost that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for sure. Which is crazy when I look at the last 12 years, and our position in the ether, right, has been the same. We've been, the whole concept, as you lightly touched on, is you're supposed to wear your word for as long as you need it, and then one day pass it on to someone who needs it more. So it really is this beautiful pay it forward mission built right into who we are and what we do. And so, as you just shared, over the last 12 years, that has been like the drumbeat, the constant drumbeat of how this brand has grown. Now we've incorporated licensing, and now we work with Disney parks, and we're sold in Target and all this stuff. But at the crux of who we are is that central mission of spreading kindness, not just to others, but also to yourself. And when you look down and see proud of you, or you got this, or unafraid, or keep going, or any of the above, you really know, like, okay, maybe I do got this. And you know why? Because my friend gave this to me, when she was struggling, and it helped her when she was struggling. And you're right, that power is embedded right into the thing that you're wearing on your wrist. And so, yeah, that the mission has remained true to who we are. And it is why we have built such an incredible community. And that's exactly what I set out to do, right? I was just a young woman who dealt with bullying my entire life, and always sought community, and thought to myself, well, why couldn't we have this like massive sisterhood of women who support one another, and then they also like wear a little word and they pass them amongst themselves, and it's really what we've created.
Yeah, and it's really just such a fun thing. I was at the airport once, and I had my stack, and someone was like, "Are you going to a Taylor Swift concert?" I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
Oh my gosh.
I would never give away one of my Little Words Project bracelets at a Taylor Swift concert.
Yeah. No, we heard that a lot during the Taylor Swift era, and we're kind of back there, right? I mean, we're so excited for her. She's definitely someone who I have looked up to for my career.
Same.
I look at her and I are just, two peas in a pod. She made it a little bigger than I did, but just, two young women who grew up seeking community, right? Like, she was bullied in the Northeast. I was bullied in the Northeast. We, in fact, know some of the same people, which is funny. And to see how much she has accomplished, and to have been able to weave our story in with hers very organically and authentically, honestly, has been a blessing, because I believe the entire Swiftie community does look to us as the official version of what they make. And I was lucky enough to go to the Miami concert of the second leg of the tour. And I was worried at first when I went in. I was like, am I going to like be heartbroken, seeing people in all of these knockoffs, even though they're not knockoffs, but you know what I mean? Like other versions of the product that like I've built my life on, right? But what I found was actually, like you said, we had people who were decked out in the words they made themselves with their own materials that they bought at Michael's or whatever. And then they had their other wrist with their little words and they were stacked up, but they wouldn't give away that wrist. They would only give away this wrist. And I'm like, okay, but we're also supposed to trade ours, you guys. But it was cute. It was like, you could tell that they treasured those bracelets, and they were waiting for a really special moment rather than just like a swap in a concert setting. But again, she really took the world by storm. That song lyric took the world by storm. And I was proud to be kind of already poised for it, right? Like ready for liftoff, if you will. And it really it made a difference in that year for us. It opened a lot of doors. Now it's like we just get to celebrate her wins with her through little mini drops and bracelet celebrations. And
yeah, the TS12 drop was so well timed. I mean, you guys are right on that.
There might be something else coming soon too, which would be fun.
Very excited about. I was definitely, so I went to London, the second London leg.
Oh, fun.
2 nights. And I was definitely one of the people who had 2 arms, one arm with my Little Words Project and one arm with
I was
My own
shocked.
made bracelet.
I was shocked by how many people I saw doing it, like truly. And honestly, that period of time was kind of the impetus for us to start our own bead kits. Like this is
Mhm.
seeing everybody for a long time. I didn't want to launch bead kits because I just kind of was like, am I giving away like the keys to the car? Like, is this going to take away from the finished product? And you know what? Like, it hasn't at all. And what it's done instead is said, all right, well, I didn't realize you guys wanted to make them yourselves too. I'm so glad you do, because that's why I started making them, is the therapeutic
Mhm.
nature of beading your own bracelet. Once we opened our bead bars, which was all around the same time, which is our retail stores that have big, beautiful bars inside. You go in, sit down,
Yeah.
make your own. It's this really welcoming experience. So once we opened those and then the Taylor lyric happened, we were like, maybe we should be bottling this experience up and selling it to you for you to do at home. And so enter the bead kits, right?
Yeah.
So it's always cool to see how these things evolve when you look back at them, right?
It is. I love it. I'm wearing my resilience bracelet. And so I feel like with all the different things you've had happen this year, how do you stay resilient through the chaos and the change?
Yeah. Mm. I don't even have a good answer for that. I know that I'm like relentless in my commitment
Mhm.
to finishing what I start. And this thing has had no signs of stopping anytime
Yeah.
soon. So it's literally like it's hard, but no harder than going into early labor at 29 weeks out of the clear blue sky and being in the NICU with my son for 10 weeks, like no harder than my infertility treatments and experience for 2 years of living in that state, as you know well, of not having any clue what your life was going to look like,
Mhm.
and no harder than the bullying I went through in my youth, right? And the constant feeling of not wanting to wake up in the morning to go to school and exist, frankly. So we've been through hard shit, right? And I can do hard things, we all can. And I think
Yeah.
you learn what you're capable of when you're in the muck, and you know that it's either fail or keep going. And so, or fail forward, right? Which is a
Yeah.
lot of what this year and frankly, the last decade has been a series of failures that have been learning opportunities. They were lessons for me to then be able to step into that, the role that I ended up entering each year was a new version of the CEO that I once was, right? Like I had to
Mhm.
grow just like the business did. So I think it's just this constant commitment to just continuing to
Yeah.
put one foot in front of the next. Like just
One
keep going.
one thing I love, and you've been really leaning into this on your, at least I think probably more on TikTok, although I am very millennial, so I'm only on Instagram.
Yeah.
Uh, where you are actually doing behind the scenes and you are showing the hard stuff. You're showing
Yeah.
when the van didn't come to pick up the boxes that needed to be shipped from the warehouse sale, and you're actually being real about it. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes we get served so much of it was easy, or people gloss over all the things that happen to get them where they are. And it makes people feel like it's an unattainable path. And one
Yeah.
of my favorite parts of both you and the brand is that you guys are really honest when things
Yeah.
are tough, or when you have to call your dad and have him help with, you're putting it out there so that people feel that it's more attainable. So that
Yeah.
next little girl that's getting bullied at 22 can say, you know what, I could probably start my own company. It's
Yeah, and make a
doable.
difference. Yeah, no, thank you for saying that. It is something that we've prided ourselves on for years. It's actually, when I get asked the question of how did you build this community, I always say I honestly let them in. I let them in behind the scenes. I had them be, feel like they were a part of building this thing with me, and they were, and so for the first decade, really, we were always showing the story, always showing the behind the scenes. I cried on camera more times than I can count. And then it started to taper off because I started getting busier and busier and busier. And really, once we opened retail, which was 4 years ago now, it was really hard to stay on top of all of it. The third channel of business, turning us into a true like
Mm-hmm.
whole B2B, D2C online, D2C brick and mortar, like that omni-channel approach turned us into such a bigger fish that we weren't ready to be yet, right? And so
Yeah.
as you witnessed, there was growing pains along with that, and a constant sense of catching up. And we still feel that way, right? We just had our retail summit, and one of the pieces of feedback from our retail teams was like, we'd love for the brand to be more proactive rather than reactive. And I'm like, yeah, same.
Don't we all want that? Yeah.
Same. I too want that with you guys, but we're doing this together and we're learning together. And this is my first time doing this. Right. And so taking a business from, where we've been to where we're going is so much harder than people really give it credit for. And like you said, I'm not going to show the glossy version. Although, to be fair and clear, I wish I could show even more. Like, I am such an open book. It's my husband who's like, Adriana, you can't give away all of the trade. Like, you can't say it all. I'm like, really? I feel like I should.
Yeah.
I'm like, why not? What's the worst that'll happen? Like, people will think that we don't know everything. Like, well,
maybe that's your next book, by the way. It could be your next book.
Maybe the whole story. Yeah. Like in and out
behind
all
the scenes,
of it. Yeah. I know. I literally have to keep, I used to be a huge journaler as an English major and just kid growing up. So I have so many journals from my youth that I'm like, I need to journal again. Like, I literally need to just write down what's happening because this is so crazy. And I wish people could be a fly on the wall. I think there'd be a lot more grace given. And I think it would be a lot more just realistic for people to view. And not for nothing, there are times where I literally want to get on camera and be like, honestly, you guys, don't do it. Don't start a business. It's not worth it, But there are many more times where I look around and I think, wow, we did that. This is pretty legit. And I'm grateful that I didn't have the foresight of how hard it would be when I started. I was so naive. I was so 23 and I just was like, I got this. How hard could it be? Right. And sure enough, 12 years later, I'm still confused by how we survive it, right? But the customer helps with it, right? It's that the community impact and seeing how much it matters to people, these little bracelets, it makes a big difference for our resilience.
Yeah, the one thing that you did exceptionally well too is picking your life partner, who then also now has transformed the business. I honestly, when I mentor women, I tell them it's the most important decision that you'll ever make. So when you first started dating, did you envision him as the CEO of Little Words Project?
No, when we first started dating, are you kidding? He was a classic college dude. You know what I mean? There was nothing. I mean, he was amazing. And he was always he always had eyes for me. It was very sweet. I always felt when I went to college, I went to a very kind of, it was not a very diverse campus. And I looked different than a lot of the young women who went to school there, and the boys and everybody. I just always felt a little bit like a sore thumb. And it was my husband, Bill, who whenever, he always made me feel beautiful. He was the one who he would make eye contact with me from across the dining hall, and my heart would skip a beat,
was your
right?
Conrad?
He was my Conrad. Wait, I literally tell him that. And today I was explaining the whole thing to him. I made everybody watch the season finale, and he's like, finally I had him to watch it with me. And he was like, wait, this sounds a little familiar. I know, that's what I'm telling you. But anyway, I have no relationship with his little brother. I'll tell you that.
There you go.
But no, he always made me feel seen. And so when we started dating, we broke up a few times. I write about it in my book, which is a cute little 45-minute read called The Power of Little Words. But we do talk about that. And it wasn't until we got back together and we decided this is it, we're going to do this for life, that we dated, we were back together for a few months and I had the idea for the brand. So it was that kind of soon after. So he's been a part of this journey from the very beginning. He was essentially subsidizing my costs of living because he would pay for the apartment and I would be paying for the business. And I was making bracelets late at night. He'd sit down and make them with me. And this is all while building his career in finance that, I went to him often and I asked him all the time about the numbers of it all. And he helped me learn kind of the business side of things where I was really focused on the brand, the vision, the growth. And he kind of helped support that other side. And it wasn't until we had our first baby, Ford, in 2021, it was post, kind of people coming back into the office, right? Which was post-COVID. And he was about to start commuting again into Manhattan. And we both just looked at each other and were like, or not, what if we don't do that? And what if you just come in with me and we go all in and we do this together? And he was on board. It was surprisingly, like, it was the perfect comedy of errors. Like, it was like, he'd have to go in. It was like all the stuff going back to work. It was all so weird that we were like, you know what? Why not? Why not give it a try? And the business was in a great spot. Had no hopes of retail at all. And that was one of his first initiatives. And he kicks himself to this day. He's like, I don't know if it was the right move. We'll see. But, you know, so far, so good. There's some elements of the retail story that has made the overall journey harder because, as I said, it's a big channel that you have to get right. And you kind of can't like open and close stores, which we're kind of sort of trying to do in certain locations. But we've learned a ton. And the decision to bring him on board is one of the best that I've ever made, that he's ever made. And it allowed for us to have a home life that we wouldn't have had otherwise. Like, he would never have seen his kids the way that, you know, he was headed in that career. So yeah, he was very transformative. And you're absolutely right. Anybody who is searching for their life partner, as a woman, if you're looking to do something with your life independent of a man, then whoever you choose needs to be in support of who you are. So showing your truth, no matter who you are, to no matter who you date, is important, right? Like, don't let them find out that you have this secret side hustle passion after the fact, because they might not be the right one, you know, and you need to be committed.
It takes a lot of support to help, you know, to support someone who has big ideas and who's looking to make them a reality.
Absolutely true.
I have so enjoyed this conversation. I think I've also learned that some of us like to create our own chaos because it leads to big transformation.
Yeah.
And so maybe you're a little bit in that camp, it sounds like.
Yeah. I'm definitely a chaos creator.
We're struggling. Yeah, exactly. We're probably struggling a little bit with that, but we have really cool things come out of it.
I do it to myself. I say it all the time. I'm like my own worst enemy, even in how I, you know, like I sometimes I'm like, Adriana, just shut up and listen. Just shut up and listen. And it's so hard for me, you know, and I'm like self-diagnosing. I honestly think I need to go get it officially diagnosed, but I'm like, you know, we're all in this spiral of social media and like, I think I have ADHD. Like, I'm pretty sure this is me. Like, how do I manage all of this? Like, this is me. This has been me my whole life. And we were all the generation that just like never did that kind of testing.
Yeah.
But I feel that way. Like, it's chaos from all angles, but there's so much beauty in that too. Because like you said, that's when things happen. Beautiful things can come out of the chaos. And honestly, it's been an honor for me to run this business for the last 12 years with the help, of course, of my team, my husband, my support system. And I don't necessarily think I would have had as much fun if it was just a perfect straight line. I mean, who would?
Who would? I think that's the perfect way to end this conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time. I've really enjoyed it.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this very exciting episode of Managed Chaos Podcast. Please subscribe to us anywhere that you find your podcasts, and we will see you on the next episode of Managed Chaos.